On June 1984, Indian Armed Forces launched Operation Blue Star, entering the Golden Temple complex to remove Sikh militant Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. The operation damaged the sacred Akal Takht, deeply hurting Sikh religious sentiments. 4 months later, on October 31, 1984, two Sikh bodyguards assassinated Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in retaliation, erupting anti-Sikh riots across the country. But how did we reach this tragic point? What incident led to this situation? In this video, we will dive deep into these questions. Partition changed everything in Punjab. India got about 37% of Punjab's land but nearly half its population. And the demographics flipped. Before partition, Muslims formed the majority. After partition, Hindus made up around 62% and Sikhs about 35%. For Sikhs, this was unsettling. They had just failed to secure a separate Sikh state, often called Sikhistan. Now, in Hindu majority India, Akali leaders feared Sikh identity would fade. So they shifted strategy. Instead of pushing for sovereignty, they demanded a Punjabi speaking province within India, the Punjabi Suba. But Hindu leaders were worried. They had just witnessed the creation of Pakistan, which many blamed on Congress appeasement. Now Sikhs were asking for a state of their own. In the 1951 census, some Hindu organizations even urged people not to list Punjabi as their mother tongue, but to write Hindi instead, a deliberate move to weaken the linguistic case of Punjabi Suba. For nearly 2 decades, protests escalated, fast turned to death, mass protest, growing tensions. In 1955, the State Reorganization Commission rejected the demand, arguing it was really about religion, not language. The turning point came in the 1960s. Leadership passed from Master Tara Singh to Sant Fateh Singh, who reframed the struggle around language rather than religion. Ironically, Hindu leaders in the region also began demanding their own Hindi-speaking state, Haryana. In 1965, Sant Fateh Singh threatened to fast unto death and then immolate himself, but the Indo-Pak War broke out and he postponed his protest. After the war ended, Delhi finally gave in. In March 1966, Parliament passed the Punjab Reorganization Act. Punjab was divided three ways: Haryana for Hindi speakers, Himachal Pradesh got the hill areas, and what remained became Punjabi speaking Punjab. For the first time since partition, Sikhs were a majority in their own state. But some issues were left unresolved: the status of Chandigarh, river waters, territorial disputes. Those questions lingered, and 2 decades later they would erupt again, and turning the Golden Temple into a battlefield. After Punjab was reorganized in 1966, the state held its first election the next year. The Akali Dal came to power but only through a fragile coalition with Janasangh and the Communist Party of India. The alliance did not last long. Within months, Congress was back in control. By the early 1970s, the Akalis were looking for a way to rebuild their base. In 1973, they met at Anandpur Sahib and adopted a resolution with four major demands: more autonomy for states, Punjab's control over its river waters, official recognition of Sikhism as distinct from Hinduism, and stronger protection for Sikh institutions. Indira Gandhi's government viewed the Anandpur Sahib resolution as dangerously close to separatism. Even moderate Sikh leaders worried about how it might be interpreted. Meanwhile, Punjab's economy was changing fast. The Green Revolution had made Punjab India's breadbasket, but not everyone benefited. Large farmers prospered while smaller ones sank into debt. Groundwater level fell, soil quality declined, and dispute with Haryana over Satluj-Yamuna Canal deepened local resentment. This mix of economic strain and identity politics created fertile ground for unrest. In 1977, a charismatic preacher named Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale emerged as a new voice. He spoke out against corruption, the canal project, and what he saw as attack on Sikh identity. His following grew quickly. He ran his own courts, issued edicts, and became a powerful religious and political figure. Akali leaders tolerated him at first. They did not want to alienate Sikh voters, but things changed in 1978. That year, a clash broke out in Amritsar between Orthodox Sikh and a sect called the Nirankaris, who were viewed as heretical. The confrontation left 13 Sikhs and 3 Nirankaris dead. 2 years later, the Nirankari leader Baba Gurbachan Singh was assassinated. The suspicion fell on Bhindranwale, but India's Home Minister Jarnail Singh told Parliament he was not involved. Still, Bhindranwale's influence only grew, and here Congress made a political gamble that would come to haunt it. The party believed Bhindranwale could divide Sikh politics and weaken the Akali Dal. In the 1978 SGPC election, Congress quietly supported his candidates. It worked for a while, Bhindranwale's prominence rose and Akalis lost ground. But soon the violence escalated. In 1981, journalist Lala Jagat Narayan, a vocal critic of Bhindranwale, was murdered. Bhindranwale was arrested but quickly released for lack of evidence. That release turned him into a hero amongst many Sikhs who saw him as a defender of their faith. Targeted killings of police and civilians followed. By 1982, when his aide Amritsar Singh was arrested, Bhindranwale moved into the Golden Temple complex itself, first in Guru Nanak Niwas, later at the Akal Takht, the highest seat of Sikh temporal authority. Meanwhile, the Punjab's political landscape was paralyzed. Indira Gandhi returned to power in 1980, dismissed the state government, and imposed the president's rule. The Akalis, now in opposition, launched protests to revive their movement. In October 1981, Akali Dal presented 15 new demands, echoing Anandpur Sahib resolution. Talks with Delhi went nowhere, and that created the political vacuum, which is filled by the Bhindranwale. By 1982, Akalis realized they could not outshine him, so they joined forces, launching the Dharam Yudh Morcha, the righteous struggle. Their demands included stopping the Satluj Yamuna Canal, returning Chandigarh to Punjab, and redrawing state boundaries. But by then, militancy was spreading fast. Extremists hijacked buses, killed civilians, and fear gripped Punjab. Negotiations continued through 1983 and early 1984, but collapsed each time. By mid 1984, Golden Temple a fortified base. Militants stored weapons inside, and attacks on security forces grew more frequent. On June 3, 1984, Akali Dal announced a new wave of protest, blocking grain shipments, refusing taxes, and paralyzing the state. That same day, Delhi made its decision. Normal policing had failed, negotiations had failed. On June 5, 1984, the Indian Army entered the Golden Temple. Operation Blue Star had begun. On June 5, 1984, at 7 pm, the Indian Army entered the Golden Temple complex in Amritsar. The mission was called Operation Blue Star. The government expected resistance, but what they found was far more than they had planned for. Inside, the complex had been turned into a fortress, with sandbagged bunkers, machine gun posts, and a defense plan designed by former Major General Singh, a war veteran who had once helped India win the 1971 war. But years later, Singh was dismissed from the army on corruption charges, a move he saw as deeply unjust. Disillusioned, he aligned himself with the Bhindranwale's cause, training his followers in military tactics and turning the temple complex into defensive stronghold. Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale and his followers had been preparing for this movement. Army's goal was clear: remove the militants while avoiding damage to the Harmandir Sahib, Sikhism's holiest shrine. But that proved impossible. Bhindranwale had fortified the Akal Takht, the highest seat of Sikh temporal authority, and his base inside the temple complex. When troops moved in, they came under heavy fire. Casualty rose quickly. By the next day, June 6, tanks were brought in to break through the Akal Takht's defenses. Fighting spread room to room, floor to floor. Bhindranwale was killed along with Singh and hundreds of his followers. Official figures reported 83 soldiers dead and around 492 militants and civilians killed. Independent estimates, however, place the civilian toll much higher. Some say over 1,000, but numbers alone can't explain what Operation Blue Star meant. Akal Takht lay in ruins, and the assault happened on the martyrdom day of Guru Arjan Dev, when thousands of pilgrims were inside. Many were trapped in the crossfire. For millions of Sikhs, this wasn't just a military operation, it felt like desecration. The Operation Blue Star reshaped Indian politics in three major ways. First, it changed the balance of power between the state and the center. Blue Star showed the limits of state autonomy. When Punjab government failed to control militancy, Delhi used direct military force. That set a precedent. In the years that followed, India passed laws like Tata in 1985 and later Pota in 2002, giving the central government sweeping power in the name of national security. From then on, the debate between the civil right and state security tilted sharply towards security. Second, it transformed how minority grievances were handled. Every negotiation with Sikh leaders after 1984 carried the shadow of Blue Star. The Rajiv Longewal Accord of 1985 tried to rebuild trust, but when its promise went unfulfilled, mistrust deepened. Through the late 1980s and early 1990s, Punjab became a laboratory for India's counter-insurgency strategy. Intelligence-driven policing, prolonged security operations, and new anti-terror laws. Third, it internationalized the conflict. Sikh diaspora communities in Canada, the UK, and the US rallied around the memory of Blue Star. They organized protests, raised funds, and lobbied foreign governments. But in some cases, this activism turned violent. In 1985, Khalistani extremists carried out the Air India Flight 182 bombing, killing 329 people, the deadliest act of aviation terrorism before 9/11. Even today, diaspora politics shaped by Blue Star continue to affect India's relationship with countries like Canada. The months after Blue Star were devastating. On 31st October 1984, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was assassinated by her Sikh bodyguard. What followed was even worse. Organized mobs, many linked to political leaders, attacked Sikh across Delhi and others. Over 3 days, around 3,000 Sikhs were killed. In Punjab, militancy surged. Operation Blue Star did not end the insurgency, it intensified it. Between 1984 and the mid 1990s, more than 20,000 people were killed in the violence that followed. Operation Blue Star shows that military force can end a confrontation, but it cannot solve the politics behind it. The demands first raised in 1946 and left unresolved after 1966 turned into armed rebellion by 1984. And after Blue Star, those demands did not disappear. They spread globally, become a diaspora cause that still influences Indian diplomacy today. India removed Bhindranwale but created thousands more militants. It regained control of the Golden Temple but lost the trust of the entire community. And perhaps the biggest lesson, political manipulation of religion never stays contained. The Congress once supported Bhindranwale to weaken the Akali Dal, but he became the spark of a chain of events that killed a prime minister, scared a community, and redefined the limits of Indian federalism. Operation Blue Star wasn't just about one man or one temple. It was the results of decades of unresolved political tension, and its consequences in law, diplomacy, and collective memory are still being felt today. Thanks for watching. If you like the content, do support us.